All right, I guess it's time. We might as well get to it. The big news of the week, right? That everybody hopped onto, and a lot of people wanted to know my comments on this. Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor Wrestling. I wish we had some kind of marching band music. Dun, 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 dun. I'm not going to piss all over this yet because I don't know what they're going to do, but I am going to piss all over the way that they announced it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Is it just a completely mystifying thing that if you're in the business of promotion, that you should promote things, make them big, make them attractive, make them more important potentially than they might be, or at least the way you present them, make it sound big? The guy comes out, and everybody was talking about it's a big deal because Tony's never been on camera but once before. Now we know why. He's not a friendly, television-friendly, compatible personage, is Tony Khan. But the way they announced this is instead of, because it was a last-minute deal and they don't have any restraint, they can't sit back and say, like a Vince McMahon would do, the time is not right. Let's make the time right. They finished the deal from what we're saying, from what we're hearing, at 6:00 in the evening. I know for a fact that high-ranking Ring of Honor employees, not wrestlers, people that actually worked there, that ran the company, found out about the announcement when they saw it on television. And I know everybody's going to say, well, they're trying to keep it a secret. God damn. As Vince McMahon used to say again, we've kayfabed ourselves, pal. Because instead of making this deal for whatever it's going to be, we'll talk about it. What did he buy? Did he buy, besides the video library and the production equipment? They had no wrestlers. Or did he buy the TV slots? We don't know. It hadn't been announced. But instead of saying, okay, I've done this deal, and now I can announce that we're going to have a major announcement on Friday night's Rampage and try to do something for those ratings, and take the time to put together a video package. This is Ring of Honor. Because I know that they live in their bubble, and the same people that like the AEW guys like the Ring of Honor guys and know who all of everybody is because they're the most devoted fans out there. There's also not a ton of them. So you might want to get somebody else on board with this. Do a package. This is Ring of Honor. Show some of the highlights. Show some of the names. Focus on, you should already have a plan on Ring of Honor talent that already doesn't work for you and has never appeared for you, that you're going to be bringing in to illustrate this. Briscoes! So focus on who is that Ring of Honor talent that may be invading. And make it a big deal. Have comments from some of those wrestlers or from some of your wrestlers on rivalries that they've had in the past or still have with people that may be coming into their company. And most importantly, this is where, again, Tony Khan does not realize, and nobody will tell him, he has no business being on television. The eyes, the uncomfortable shifting demeanor, the dishevelment, the lack of an authoritative delivery. He looks like he's ready to jump out of his fucking skin being out in front of people. This is not somebody you want imparting news like that. That's why they should have had, since the start of the fucking thing, not an authority figure to be the evil empire and, fuck all their people's favorite wrestlers or make ridiculous rulings or whatever, but a management representative There's a great place for a Paul White or an Arn Anderson or even possibly a Tully Blanchard or any of these guys that they've just had twisted in the wind that have it in them to deliver a good straight promo when they've got something sensible to talk about. That's the kind of guy you want on behalf of this promotion, a television-friendly face that also is somebody the fans look up to and respect and would listen to, making major announcements about the company. It makes it look like, I don't know what it makes it look like with Tony on television. Can you help me describe in any way verbally the amateur hour look? And I'm not saying he's a horrible person, but he shouldn't be on television. A lot of people shouldn't. It's not a crime, except if you put him there. What do you think, Brian?
I think this was probably, I shouldn't even say I think, this was a big moment for Tony personally. This isn't him and his dad owning AEW. This is him using his money to buy Ring of Honor, something he was a fan of, and now he owns it. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that's
okay, but
why he was so frantic and excited.
I'm not arguing with that. Then make it big, make it exciting, make it something.
Oh, I agree with that.
Just say, oh, well, yeah, 2 hours ago I just got off the phone and Sinclair Broadcasting has unloaded this fucking white elephant off their books, and we've obviously just found out about it, so we have no plans and we don't even have any footage to show you. Or for anybody who's not familiar with Ring of Honor, we're not going to try to get it over. We're just going to have two of our wrestlers that used to wrestle there come out and have a match. That's what happened. Why not build this into something? Why rush the announcement? Even if it leaked out, was this surprise going to make a difference in the current state of business affairs for AEW, or is this something that they wanted to so let people be murmuring about it? And then you come out next week with the big package and the big launch of the big promotional campaign for what you're going to do with this opposing wrestling league. Is there going to be interspecies competition? Are they going to be kept separate? Are the TV slots still in play on the Sinclair stations? If not, then what have you bought? The video library. So this could have been a big deal. Or it could still be a big deal, but they're not starting off trying to make it a big deal because they do not know how to make things bigger than what they are. They don't sit down and take the time and think it through. It's almost like people there have a problem sitting down and concentrating on something. So let's look at the differences real quick from 2011 and 2022 Ring of Honor sales. I was involved in the first one. What were we selling then? In 2011, when Sinclair was talking to Kerry Silken, it was almost a completely different thing that they were looking to buy. Right now, the most valuable thing is probably the video library that Tony Khan just bought. In 2011, that was kind of low on the list because, let's face it, in 2011, Punk and Danielson had been in the WWE for a couple of years. They weren't legendary as they would become yet. And everybody else I'm not saying there weren't quality talent there, but everybody else was still in TNA at that point, AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and etc. So the library didn't contain, multiple hours of footage of some of the biggest stars in the world. 11 years later, that's changed. But at the time, Sinclair was less interested in the video library than almost anything else. And honestly, also because at that time, think about this. We were thinking that the television production with Sinclair was going to be first class when it started. Well, it turned out not to be because they wouldn't spend any money, but it was still a massive upgrade from what Ring of Honor had been doing because they were shooting on VHS with rented cameras. And when we tried to convert the existing Ring of Honor footage to stuff that would work on television, we had to put it in the box and we had to treat it because it was the 4:3 TV aspect instead of widescreen. And it wasn't high def, it was barely def, much less high def. So now they've got 10 more years of better looking to great footage because they also bought the production equipment, Tony Khan did. And when I was there in what was it, 2017, 18 for the Crockett Cup that Ring of Honor produced for the NWA, they had production equipment coming out the ass. It was amazing. Where was that 7 years beforehand? But AEW already had either production equipment or access to it. So that's not earth-shaking. In 2011, there was no production equipment. In 2011, Sinclair Broadcasting was basically buying the talent roster and the fan base because that's what Ring of Honor had. Brian, you'll remember this. In 2010, shortly before the talks got going, Ring of Honor had under contract 75 or 80% of the independent wrestlers in the business that you would want to start a TV product. Almost all of the good indie wrestlers were under contract to Ring of Honor. I'm not talking about the former WCW or WWE big names that were doing independent shows. And I'm certainly not talking about the trampoline cowboys that a lot of the indie fans thought, they should sign up. The Jack Evanses of the world and the Super Smash Brothers. Talking about quality talent you'd want to start a television promotion with. In this country, again, there's some in England, there's some in Japan, but in this country, can you think, was there a major, any level of major indie names that Ring of Honor didn't have at that point? We had Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards, Roderick Strong, the Briscoes, the fucking, pretty much the cream of the cream of everybody was doing independent shows. That was the roster. And I would hesitate to say that there was, can you think of anybody? Was there any more than one or two major names that we could have added to that, even if we'd wanted to, at that time?
Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of any names. You had the cream of the crop of indie wrestling and Ring of Honor during this era.
So that's what I would, because at one point, Joe Koff had come to me and said, well, if Kerry doesn't want to do this deal, then we could start our own wrestling promotion. I would say, well, yeah, you could do anything you want to do, but who are you going to have wrestle for you? Because if Kerry doesn't want to sell Ring of Honor but doesn't want to fold it, then those guys are under contract, and then you've got to pick the best of the rest, which there's hardly any there. And for the amount of money we're talking about, this is the roster, and it's got a built-in fan base. We weren't aware at the time that the fan base was not going to appreciate any upgrades, but that's what they were buying. They didn't buy TV slots because they didn't have one. And actually, in hindsight, HDNet, the precursor to Access, not being able to put any more money in the Ring of Honor television program that they'd aired for 2 years, they were paying for part of the production. They were paying for the production and part of the talent. They couldn't put any more money into it and canceled it right as these talks were going on, which actually enabled Sinclair Broadcasting to negotiate better, more cleanly, because they didn't have another television partner in the game for a promotion they were thinking about buying. And being canceled by HDNet did absolutely nothing bad to Ring of Honor's business, because that TV program had done nothing for Ring of Honor's business.
That station had no audience.
Nobody could see it. That's right. If right now the people that are watching Impact on Access is probably 5 times the audience that Ring of Honor had, because nobody could get HDNet then, and you had to pay extra per month if you did. I had to pay $10 a month just to get the fucking show or the station to watch the show I was on. So anyway, there was no TV slots. The video library was They had a fan base and they had a roster and there was no production equipment. That's what Sinclair bought 11 years ago. In this case, it was almost turned completely upside down. They had no roster. None whatsoever. They let everybody go in December, and the fan base has trickled away. So now basically their biggest of their most important aspects of their company was the video library that Sinclair wasn't really wrapped up in 11 years ago because it didn't look that good and there wasn't that many people there then that was a big deal. Now it's changed. And the TV time slots that nobody has yet. That would have been one of the first things I would have mentioned if I was Tony Khan in my announcement, is that, and yes, and now not only Ring of Honor, but also AEW superstars are going to be seen on these 70-something broadcast stations across the country currently airing Ring of Honor. Because if he didn't get that, then all he bought was the video library. And what the fuck is that going to do for him besides the fans that he already has wanting to go back and see some of that stuff in a streaming service, if they do, because it's already been out there on DVD and the Ring of Honor streaming service and the Honor Club and et cetera. So it's not even new or been hidden for some time.
No, but it's incredibly valuable because he bundles it with his AEW content. And as Warner's looking to boost their streaming portfolio, either Tony could go on his own with a streaming site, and now he has a lot of content, or Tony can bundle it together and have a bigger deal to offer someone like his partners at Warner.
Well, yes, but then why say, I bought Ring of Honor and they've made the announcement that Ring of Honor is going to continue in some form as a promotion that he will be doing whatever with. Well, I'm not saying
I agree the library
isn't valuable, but did he just buy the video library and he's made this big announcement? Or if it's going to be a promotion, and not maybe even whether a standalone promotion or whether a promotion in conjunction or whether a developmental type of promotion or whatever the case, the only thing he got that we know that is worth anything and that is to make any difference in anything is the video library.
And the
if Ring of Honor, and they were talking to the WWE and the WWE didn't get back with them apparently in time, or they didn't care or whatever. And again, couldn't Ring of Honor have said, before we let everybody go and be free and fly away, while we're still an operating company, let's see if we can get this guy to buy us and maybe, we'll get more out of it. But they fire all the wrestlers, eliminate all the contracts, announce they're taking a 3-month hiatus. And then they start talking to this guy about selling it.
If you go back to the original Ring of Honor announcement that they were shutting down or ceasing operations temporarily, we talked about it on the show. We said it's a no-brainer for Tony Khan. He'll get the library of all the guys that work for him. And if he can get them to give him a deal where for 1 year or 2 years or however it may be, he gets to have those Ring of Honor time slots, then it becomes a pretty good deal. As long as you're not paying a ridiculous sum of money. And I don't think they're going to charge a ridiculous sum of money for what Ring of Honor is and all that intellectual property.
I agree. But to do after you've diminished your company's value as much as you possibly can and everybody's figuring you're done, then you sell. Isn't that like a motivated seller, fire sale, going out of business, prices slashed to the bone?
It was done poorly, but Sinclair has handled a lot of things poorly over the last decade. And also, as far as Tony Khan buying it, if at that point it's just, hey, this catalog of footage is up for sale, I still think it's a good move for him for a number of reasons. I agree with you, just the overall thing, though. Just, you purchase Ring of Honor, even if you were working on it and you only finished it at 6 p.m. You come out there and you say, we purchased Ring of Honor, and you drop a few things. He did say the video catalog will be available. They're going to try to find a way. but nothing about what this means for Ring of Honor, nothing about what this means for TV. You mentioned wrestlers and employees found out by watching it at home, which is kind of fucked up in certain cases. But you have the Briscoes, you have guys that, although not currently under contract, are longtime Ring of Honor people. You consider them to be Ring of Honor people. Tony didn't announce anything, and I think, whenever people have pointed out, like, too much of AEW is focused on what smart fans would like, or what the Observer fans would like, or what the internet fans would like, leading the show with this announcement, building it up for a while that you had a special announcement, and Tony coming out there to make this big announcement, and then it just kind of died. Every now and then during the show, you'd hear, "Hey, for you, Mr. Tony Khan, Ring of Honor." You hear that every now and then. But what does that mean? And while people are watching Christopher Daniels, who they haven't seen on TV in a while, and Bryan Danielson, who they've been seeing all the time, was it properly explained other than Tony Khan's, and again, I'm not trying to be unfair, but a kind of bug-eyed, frantic speech?
If you didn't already know that Christopher Daniels and Bryan Danielson were two of the three guys in the first main event of Ring of Honor's first show, his explanation did not clarify that matter.
So that's the only thing. If you're going to make this a big announcement, have more to actually say. And also, don't make this the big announcement. Don't start the show off and build this up. If Tony is only going to do limited things, like when Brody Lee passed away, then I don't know. I mean, again, I see that this is a big thing for him personally, but in terms of what's on air, that valuable real estate of being on air, I wasn't that excited coming out. He bought a dead promotion.
He has just bought a wrestling promotion that has never been less valuable. It was going when Sinclair got it. It was going through ups and downs, but now they have no wrestlers. They're running reruns on their TV time slots. They got some production equipment and a video library. And instead of buying the thing and then figuring out a way to present it on his television to make it bigger than even Ring of Honor was when it was running, by doing the packages, the announcements, making a big deal out of it at every turn, plumbing every little detail for how you can make this sound better than it is. Instead, they drop it there, and that's it, because he's not a promoter. A lot of these guys have fantasized about being wrestlers all their lives. He's fantasized about being a promoter and a booker all his life. And the problem is, many of them have never actually done it. They've just fantasized about it. And when they get the opportunity to do it, they drop the ball on it because they don't know how to do it in the first place.
You know what question I don't have the answer to that I'd like to know? Was Ring of Honor offered to Tony Khan or WWE before they ceased operations?
I would love to know that as well. I wonder if we ever shall.
Oh, I'm sure there are a few people who shall remain nameless, who shall have a thing or two to say in the coming days and weeks.
Well, and so anyway, what do they get? They got the video library, they got production equipment, which they already had access to.
Intellectual property.
The intellectual property is the same as the video library, basically. What are you going to have, Ring of Honor ice cream bars? I don't think so.
Well, you own the logo, you own the titles, you own. What about what about the rings?
How many did they have? When I was there, they had one. We wanted to get two at the start, but they didn't want to pay for one for more than one at the same time. A couple of rings, whatever. The personnel, they don't have a roster. I'm not sure who's still in the office, except as far as TV production, a fellow named Mark Davis that was with Sinclair Broadcasting beforehand, didn't know anything about wrestling, but wanted to learn and jumped into it. He was easy to work with, and he was on the ball. They might, benefit from him, but the only other person I can think of is Hunter Johnston, Delirious. What have we been screaming AEW needs? Experience at everything. Well, he's been a wrestler for 20 years. He's been the booker for 10 years. If Sinclair Broadcasting did not make Delirious mentally break and look for a bell tower with their shenanigans over 10 years of booking, that means he's a pretty mentally hardy individual. He was the head trainer at the wrestling camp that Ring of Honor ran all the tryouts and seminars. and knows everybody that's been through there for the past 20 years. Experience at training, experience at booking, experience at evaluating talent. They got no spot for him. And otherwise, I don't know what. They could hire gutless Gary Juster to drink Starbucks for 5 hours and make a few phone calls to look for a building. But I don't know what else they're getting there.
You know, one of the first people I would try to lock up, not knowing what Tony's going to do at Ring of Honor, other than he said that they will look to have it as a operating wrestling company, Ian Riccaboni.
Yes. Well, there you go. Ian Riccaboni. I mean, he's not an employee of Ring of Honor. He was one of the independent contractors along with everybody else. But I mean, he's done a fantastic job as an announcer. He's young, he's with it, but he's not annoying. He's not a basement mark like fucking excrement. He's not going to scream Japanese words and phrases at the top of his lungs all the time. He and Caprice Coleman had done an excellent job on the Ring of Honor show, and Ian he's got his shit together there. So there are pieces of Ring of Honor that they can pick up and could put to good use in their company. I don't say they're going to do it, because if Tony Khan was going to replace people that he had already gotten with people that are better at their jobs than those people are, he's had plenty of opportunities to do it, and he almost never does. So once he's promised you're going to get to play in his little fucking game, then even if somebody else comes along that's 5 times better than you are, he hates to break his word because he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
But do you think he's getting a little more hardened when it comes to that stuff? In the last couple months, he saw Cody Rhodes, who everyone thought would be there for life, all of a sudden say, hey, I got this big offer and I kind of want to do this instead. Also, the Big Swole thing. You know, if we get past the fact that it's Big Swole saying it, the idea he's hanging out partying with the wrestlers, and then all of a sudden they're turning around and saying, hey, this guy was smoking my drugs and then he fired me. He's not my friend. He's a liar. Do you think when things like this happen, it changes the way he's going to deal with people going forward?
You ask me if Tony Khan has been mentally hardened up by all that's gone on just a couple of days after I looked at him standing in that ring, not knowing whether to wind his ass or scratch his watch, and beside his own self because he was so excited to blurt out his news. I mean, no, I don't think he's been mentally hardened. I don't think it's possible to mentally harden him. I think he's a nice guy that's always wanted to do this and be involved in this. And he is in way over his head with the various tasks that he has. And he means well, but he doesn't know how to book. He books like a mark because he is a mark, and that's how he thinks. And until he comes to the realization that this cultish audience that he has of around about 1 million people, give or take, are going to watch whatever he presents, but that the other people, the other 5,999,000,000 in the world, need to see something that makes a little bit of sense and that they can follow before they're going to jump in on it. I think that's what would help him. If he realizes, I need to provide the financing and I need to find experienced, competent people to do the rest of this, and I need to stay off television, I don't think he's going to learn anything. But we'll see.